Good morning. Welcome to our Institute of Global Professional Free webinar. Thank you all for joining and stay with us till the end. My lovely audience, today I am your host for the morning. My name is Badham Dash. I am from Bangladesh. Dear audience, I am proud to be a associate with IGP as a global member. I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. It's my delight to welcome you all to our Institute of Global Professional Free webinar. Thank you all for joining us today in this marvelous morning, and it's my humble request and pleasure to all of you to stay with us till the end. Institute of Global Professionals serves student community resource providing holistic social work and education for create a competent generation. IGP is a leading online skill development institute with thousands of learners worldwide. Institute of Global Professional is an educational institute provides social work with globally recognized. We organized our webinar training offline online courses by based and trained speaker coaches from all over the world. Our mission is to empower people. We have already completed 1,101 webinars successfully. Dear participant, it's time to welcome our speaker. Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Hello, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am. How are you, ma'am?
I'm feeling good, ma'am.
Ma'am,
This is
first
another
describe
exciting day.
yourself. Then, ma'am, first describe yourself. Then you can start your presentation.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So once again, to the Institute of Global
Welcome.
Professionals, to the organizers of the Institute of Global Professionals, to our fellow viewers. So good morning. So I am Jovelyn Villaray Salvador from Catanduanes State University, Panganiban Campus. So today I will be tackling the topic on correlation of reading proficiency and writing competence. So I am very delighted to be part of this international webinar, and I am blessed and ever grateful for the IGP for this amazing opportunity rendered as speaker for this webinar. So, without so much ado, I would like to begin with my presentation. Once again, with my topic correlation of reading proficiency and writing competence. So, it is said that a good command of language, or should we say English language, will keep one abreast of the trends in varying fields of endeavor, wherein it will enable a person to join the stream of world culture and take part in the learning, discoveries, and inventions. So one phase of language that I am referring to is reading. So that is according to Antonino et al. 2017. Another aspect of language is writing, wherein according to Aceron 2020, he defined it as one of the macro skills that involves both physical and mental activity engaged in various purposes. So it has stages such as the pre-writing, drafting, and of course, in order to evaluate its effect and relevance based on form, content, and use, there is what we call criteria. Yes. So as we can see on the slide are the two macro skills which are reading and writing supposed to or assumed to be a very important skills in language acquisition of our students. So, given the illustration, we can see that there is an interconnectedness or there is a correlation that exists between the two major skills or major language skills. So, to enlighten my beloved viewers, friends, with the objectives of this very significant webinar, I have here the different objectives. The first is to adduce that reading proficiency and writing competence are interrelated concepts. And also, I would like to stress the importance of reading proficiency and writing competence. And most especially, to inspire teachers to be resilient and flexible in their teaching of reading and writing. And last but not the least, is to investigate and establish other factors as regards relationship or correlation between reading proficiency and writing competence. So, the idea that pushed me in sharing this topic with you, my dear viewers, is the result of the research that I conducted. So, going back to the basic of definition of, the most important terms for this webinar, I would like to point on the term competency. So when we say reading competency, it is the level of understanding a subject has achieved in regards to written text. So according to PEHA 2018, reading comprehension works together with writing comprehension as the two subjects work simultaneously with one another. Proficient reading competency includes the ability to quickly recognize and analyze words and understand the cognitive concepts behind the words. So there is a very significant role that vocabulary performs or plays, especially that it allows expansion of terms in one's dialect and it assists with word and sound association. So we have for the vocabulary, aside from it is associated with the word and sound, another concept that we may be able to gain for vocabulary is the enhancement of our reading ability. So if you have a lot of vocabulary or a packet of vocabulary, then most probably, just like what other researchers had disclosed, it is interconnected with reading competencies. Another one is the writing competency. So when we say writing competency, it refers to the level of understanding one has achieved in regards to writing his or her piece of text. So that is another idea from PEHA 2018 that according to him, he gauged writing competency among teachers to that they can ask students to write on a particular prompt. So most probably, just like what I did in my research study that is already completed, the prompt here can be in a form of poster, so poster prompt, video prompt, and word prompt. So I made use of these three prompts. The purpose is for my students to get motivated, or for them to be more interested in writing. So, kumbaga, I will be able to arouse their interest, so they can be able to compose their ideas. So, as students enter higher grades, the prompts and activities will become more difficult in nature. So, according to PEHA, there should be a difference, or there should be a variation when it comes to the use of prompts and activities that will be given to students. So, para siyang spiraling approach. So, there is a big question that states, why is the correlation stronger from writing to reading? Of course, to read well, a student has to decode a text, understand vocabulary, and use background knowledge to determine meaning. This is very practical because writers do this and many more, right? So, in other words, to write well, a student also has to consider the topic and what needs to be written about it. That is why it is a common practice that before a teacher starts to give a writing activity to his learners, there is first this the term prompt, and apart from that, the students are being oriented as to what the concepts or the ideas you're going to discuss or state in their writing activity. And another practice is that teachers give them parang a take-home activity where they can be able to perform research so that the content of their writing activity would be more substantial and remarkable at the same time. And another consideration that in writing, for a learner to write well, they should be able to consider the topic and what needs to be written about. Just like what I stated a while ago, there is a need to do research, kumbaga, reading, so they will be able to compile and gather information para mas maging okay yung content ng writing output. So, writer have to figure out how to start a piece of writing and to end a piece of writing. But there is an idea as regards complexity of task or complexity of learning. So when we say complexity, it has something to do with the difficulties that are observed or are common when it comes to writing. So it is said that the complexity of writing compared to reading is even greater when we consider the process of putting words to thoughts. Although there are established findings that really reading and writing are interconnected or they are correlated, one factor that is uncovered is that there is a complexity in writing. Bakit kaya? Okay, so in order for writers to communicate effectively, they have to take a thought, often abstract, and render it in a concrete form. So that made it difficult when it comes to enhancing the writing skill of the learners. Especially when starting a writing, napakahirap talaga. So good writers also have to do something that good readers never have to do. And ano po yun? Of course, andun yung factor ng revision. So they have to revise. Revision occurs on many levels. So sometimes writers change a single word, so pwedeng phrase, pwedeng sentence, or sometimes a lot of changes when it comes to the composition. So sometimes writers try different organizational structures, so they have to delete, start and over again, and they are triggered with a lot of what do you call that, a lot of information that they have read just to put into that writing piece, ano. So yan yung sinasabi dyan na round of rereading and possible revising, kasi you cannot revise not unless you reread. So these two skills are very vital. So you can revise once you are able to reread. Okay? So the best brain workout students can get. So this brings us to one more thing writers have to do that writers don't. So this is it. So for writers, they have to put themselves in the place of their readers to predict how effective their writing will be. So this is a great challenge. Kumbaga, we can consider it as ang tawag dyan, um, difficulty or impediment na before a writer can come up with an effective writing, they have first to put themselves in the place of their readers. So there is an element of empathy that serves as the key to evaluative process required in revision. So as a writer, you have to know the general knowledge of your audience, as well as the mode, form, and genre, and the specific knowledge of the reader's reading level and degree of background knowledge about the subject. So readers might do some of these things occasionally, but the stakes are much lower because their success is not dependent on a group of individuals whose actions they do not control. So to reduce all of this maxim, sabi dyan, writers sweat out every word, readers sweep over every word. So that's how difficult is writing is. Corollary to that, writing requires all the skills of reading and many other skills as well. So reading, especially the close reading, is a demanding activity. So synthesizing meaning across multiple texts also requires a high level of skills. But even these activities do not correlate as strongly with writing skills as the ability to write well correlates with reading ability. So that is, kumbaga, an additional input that really supports the claim that writing is correlated with reading. So the relationship now is that reading affects writing and writing affects reading. So according to recommendations from the major English or the language arts professional organizations, reading instruction is most effective when intertwined with writing instruction and vice versa. So just like what I did in my completed a study, after they answered the the language comprehension test, the students are asked to do writing composition. So research has found that when children read extensively, they become better writers. So to the parents, we would like to encourage or relate to you the importance of writing. the reading, the importance of reading to our children, so that they may be able to develop also love for writing. So, reading a variety of genres help children learn text structures and language that they can then transfer to their own writing. In addition, reading provides young people with prior knowledge that they can use in their stories. One of the primary reasons that we read is to learn. So, especially while we are still in school, a major portion of what we know comes from the text we read. So, since writing is the act of transmitting knowledge in print, we must have an information to share before we can write it. Of course, just like what the famous quote says, you cannot teach what you do not know, or you cannot give what you do not have. So therefore, in the sense of relationship between reading and writing, reading plays a major role in writing. So ano yung isusulat mo kung wala ka nang nalalaman? So the simple logic. So that is the very reason why there is a need for a student to embrace love for reading. Because nowadays, as we are observing, our students are already in touch with modern gadgets. They no longer they're no longer interested in reading. Instead, they just would like to browse the net, and then kumbaga, everything, the Facebook, the YouTube, internet, many more about social media. So the books now most commonly are being disregarded. Yes. So the strategies for using reading and writing to reinforce development of literacy skills. So we have here the genre study. So, one of the most effective ways to use the relationship between reading and writing to foster literacy development is by immersing children in a specific genre. So, the purpose of this, my dear viewers, dear students, is none other than for the parents and teachers to identify a particular genre. Kasi once they are able to identify the genre, then they would be able to know kung ano yung interest, kung ano yung needs ng students. So most probably it is based on the NA or the needs analysis. So they should study this genre from the reading and writing perspectives. Ano ba yung kailangan nila? Ano yung ipapabasa sa kanila? Ano yung kailangan ipasulat sa kanila? So children should read and discuss with adults high-quality examples of works written in the genre focusing on its structure and language as well as other basic reading skills, including phonics and comprehension. So, napaka-importante na after they read, there is a follow-up comprehension questions so that the teacher will be able to determine or distinguish whether the students are learning from that particular information. So once children have studied the genre to identify, they should be given opportunities to write in that genre. So kumbaga, the point is not just theory, but let them do it. So there should be an application. So reading to develop specific writing skills. Parents and teachers do not have to engage in extensive genre study to foster their children's reading and writing abilities. Text can be used on limited basis to help children learn and strengthen specific writing skills. Parents and teachers should first identify writing skills that a particular child or group of children needs support in developing. Dito na po papasok yung mga different writing techniques that a teacher can employ in order for a student to get motivated to start writing. Okay? So later on, I will be introducing different techniques on how teachers can put an emphasis on teaching reading and writing. Okay? So we have here integrating sound instruction in reading and writing. So what are these ideas? Phonemic awareness and phonics are two of the pillars of reading. Yes. So that's the basic. Ano? Before they can read, of course, they should be incognizant to the sounds or the phonics. That's the foundation. So without understanding the connection between sounds and letters, a person cannot read. Tumpak, yes. So the connection between reading and writing can help solidify these skills in young readers. So parents and teachers should help children sound out words in both reading and writing. That is why in the primary grades, a pupil before they enter kindergarten, 'di ba? Sa bahay pa lang, at home, their parents are teaching them the phonics so that when they enter schooling, hindi sila mahirapan. So when a child comes to a word in their reading that is unfamiliar, the adults working with her can model or guide her in sounding out the word using knowledge of phonemes. So pag sinabi nating phonemes, yan yung sound chunks. So similarly, if a child wants to write a new word, the adults can use the same technique to help her choose which letter to write. So if the child is younger, accurate spelling is not as important as an understanding of the connection between particular sounds and letters. So the idea is the learning or the way of learning would depend on the age of the pupil or the learner. So their readiness will mostly depend on their age. No. So the choice in reading and writing. So this is another effective method for using the relationship between reading and writing to foster literacy development. So the point is for the teachers to give children the choice based on the pupil's interest. Kung ano yung gusto nila, yun yung you give them based on their interest and likings. We learn best when we are motivated, of course. If children are always told exactly what to read and what to write, they will eventually either come to see reading and writing as impersonal events or will shut down, diba? They will get bored. They will not be more participative. They will not be highly motivated. They will get discouraged in trying to start a piece of writing. So often in classrooms, teachers allow children to select their own books to read during independent reading time, but they rarely give them the opportunity to pick their own writing topics. Yun yung mahirap eh. We let our pupils read what they want, but in the other case around, we do not let them write what they would like to write. So, according to the study, in order to encourage ownership over the reading and writing, our pupils or our children should be given the chances to read and write what is interesting and important to them. Okay? So, teaching learning cycle, reading and writing connections. So, effective literacy programs enable students to move between reading and writing and involve them in speaking and listening experiences, which support and extend their literacy, learning, and skills, according to Christie 2005. So, there is a significant responsibility of primary teachers to develop their students' skills in managing reading and writing not only in English but across the discipline areas such as the history and geography. So this TLC provides a principled pedagogic approach to support learning. So we have this term TLC that states on the connection between the reading and writing that mainly summed effective literacy programs which enable our learners to be more competent on reading and writing, which is already, already corollary to the other skills like speaking, listening. Okay, so as we can see, is the different, what do you call this? So the TLC involves explicit teaching about language choices and text. So we have here this one. The first is building the context or field. So the first one is building the context or field. This stage establishes students' shared understanding of the field study as well as exploring the sociocultural function which different kinds of text play. For example, narrative is quite important to our culture and how we see ourselves, and an appreciation of its place can be explored through a discussion about the kinds of stories students like to read and why. Okay? So, dito po, under building the context or field, ang napaka-importante dito, the common tasks include hands-on activities such as experiments, brainstorming, mind mapping, research tasks such as jigsaw task or note-taking, and then vocabulary building. So ito po mga strategies on how are we going to teach our learners with the important macro skills, specifically the reading and writing. Okay? So, throughout the building of field, the students are engaged in extended situations or discussions about their reading and provided with opportunities to use and reuse subject-specific language in supported and contextualized ways. So, this is the most um, important one wherein there is an element of contextualization. Kumbaga, kung ano yung pinag-aaralan nila, base yun sa kung ano yung pangangailangan nila. Nakarelate yun base sa kung ano yung needs analysis nila. So, according to Derewangka and Jones, in TLC, this is called supported reading, where a focus on reading skills is established through a range of supported activities and teaching practices. So, here, after that, we have the modeling the text and features of a text. So in modeling, or the other term is deconstruction. Yes, deconstruction. So the focus shifts on from the field of study to the genre being explored. So again, this is explicit teaching wherein the teacher selects or extract and uses a linguistic lens for a close reading to teach about particular structural features as well as language features and the meanings of the language that is created. So dito, the modeling phase can include further opportunities for supported reading as described above. So what is important here, ano yung pinaka-importante dito, is dapat there is a careful selection of extracts and explicit teaching about the language choices. Okay? So, this could include a discussion of the different stages of the text and their purpose, annotating a text to highlight key features relevant to the genre and student needs, finding or highlighting keywords, phrases, or sentences which help understanding of the text, asking questions which require rereading, finding other examples of the genre to be compared. So dito, in modeling the text, it contributes to building the field knowledge. Ito, okay, this one. It contributes to building the context or field of knowledge as well as the linguistic knowledge which students will later draw upon in the composition of their own text. Okay? And the third one is the guided practice. So pag sinabi natin guided practice, it is the critical stage of the teaching and learning cycle, bringing together learning that has occurred in other stages. So here, in guided practice, dito na po, it focuses already on the composition of text through directed and informed dialogue where students are guided by an expert. So pag sinabi nating expert, si teacher. Ano? So field knowledge is reviewed to be certain. So field knowledge is reviewed to be certain students have the background knowledge to be able to contribute to the text. Using the meta language and knowledge about text structure and language features of the genre examined in the modeling stage, the teacher takes a leading role to guide the jointly constructed text. So dito, still, yung leading role ng teacher, kailangan po. And of course, here for the independent construction is that they will now work by their own to develop or to draw their understanding about the genre and the language developed. So the teacher's role here in independent instruction is to guide the students in their composition. So they may be able to support in a creative design and compose their text independently. Most especially po for the students who are less confident, so they might get confused or they might get apprehension in starting a piece of writing. So there is a need for them to be guided by their teacher. Okay? So that's how this diagram becomes interrelated or interconnected to one another. And now we have here the different tips to teach the reading and writing connection. So according to Mark Pennington, an MA reading specialist, educators often talk about the reading and writing connection. So Dr. Kate Kinsella of San Francisco State University summarizes the reading and writing connection research as follows. Sabi dyan, reading widely and regularly contributes to development of writing ability. Another one, good writers were able to or were read to as children. Increasing reading fluency has a stronger influence on improving writing than the solely in increasing writing fluency. So that's according to Dr. Kate Kinsella of San Francisco State University. The first tips is to the first tip on how are we going to teach our pupils with the reading and writing is to teach the author-reader relationship. So both reading and writing involve interactive relationship between the author and the reader. So reading really is about communication between the reader and the author. So now, it's true that the author is not speaking directly to the reader. However, readers understand best when they pretend that this is so. So unlike reading, writing requires the thinker to generate both sides of dialogue. The writer must create the content and anticipate the reader response. Another one, so here in teach the author-reader relationship, The pupils or the learners should have an idea about the author's background so that they will be able to understand fully, or they will be able to comprehensively um, internalize or have a guts as to the style, as to the would-be content of that piece of writing. Dapat alam nila kung sino yung may akda, kung sino yun. Background information. And teach prior knowledge, the second tip. So what people already know is an essential component of good reading and writing. So here, in prior knowledge, sabi daw po, content knowledge is very important to read and write well. So, because in a study, about half of one's understanding of the text is what the reader puts into the reading by way of experience and knowledge. So, it seems na pag marami kang karanasan, pag marami kang alam, mas magiging quality, mas magiging meaningful yung isusulat mo. So, teach sensory descriptions. So, why do we need to teach them sensory descriptions? So, both readers and writers make meaning through their sensory experiences. Recognizing sensory references in text improves understanding of details, allusions, and word choice. Good readers apply all of their senses to the reading to better grasp what and how the author wishes to communicate. So they listen to what the author is saying to them. For example, good readers try to feel what the characters feel, visualize the changing settings, and hear how the author uses dialogue. So there is a high connection if we let them use their senses. Mas magiging interactive yung reading at the same time yung kanilang pagsusulat. So the second one is to teach them genre characteristics. So teach genre characteristics. Here in teach genre characteristics, they are going to be more aware of the reading and writing genres, serve that own purposes, follow their own rules, and have their own unique characteristics. So knowing the text structure of each genre helps reader predict and analyze what the author will say and has said. Okay? And then the next one is teach problem solving strategies. So when you teach them problem solving strategies, kasi ang ating mga readers ay para yung mga detectives eh. So they look for clues to understand and solve a case. So as a writer, or they need to clearly state the basic problem of the story and how that problem leads to a conflict. So dapat si teacher alam kung how is she going to lead the class to a very exciting part wherein the students will be guided as to how are they going to detect an arguable thesis in a particular story. And then for the next item, we have teach coherency and unity. So for both reading and writing, the object is to make sense of the content. Recognizing the author's rhetorical organization, grammatical patterns, transition words, and use of writing techniques such as repetition, parallelism, and summary will facilitate comprehension. So knowing how the author communicates helps the reader understand what is being communicated. Applying an organizational pattern appropriate to the writing content and effective writing techniques will help the reader understand the content of the communication. Okay? And of course, is to teach the pupils with the metacognitive and critical thinking. So this is the highest form or the elevated form of ideas. The higher order thinking skills. Mahirap ituro sa mga bata, but with persistence and determination of the teacher, this could be achievable. Okay? So these are my references for all my readings. So once again, I would like to say thank you to the Institute of Global Professionals for this very marvelous opportunity. Thank you so much, IGP, and to everyone, good afternoon.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It has been very informative for us and also for our participant. Ma'am, it's time for our quiz session. After complete the quiz session, we come back again with our question answer session. So you have to wait for a few minutes.
Yes, po.
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Then after question answer session, we will continue our question answer session after quiz session.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Copy, ma'am. Thank you
Okay.
po.
Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP and the code is IGP. After a short video, we will start our quiz session. So let's enjoy our quiz session. দাদা ভিডিওর কথা কি স্যারকে গ্রুপে বলবো? ভিডিওর কথা মনে করে দিতে বলছে যে। Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP. And the code is IGP. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will directly print on certificate. Top 10 will award it with quiz completion certificate. Already 28 people join with us. We will start our quiz session after 2 minutes. Dear participant, to join our quiz session, you have to go www.slido.com and the code is IGP. And the code is IGP. Dear participant, let's start our quiz session. Assessment of reading can often be combined with speaking and writing. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Assessment of reading can often be combined with speaking and writing. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Option 1 true is the right answer and 92% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Jordan Joy is holding the first position. Our second question is reading and writing are the primary modalities of academic English. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Reading and writing are the primary modalities of academic English. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Option 2 false is the right answer and 5% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Evelyn is holding the first position after completing our second question. Our third question is the nutrition process requires that individual demonstrate proficiency in speaking, reading, and writing the English. Option 1 true, option 2 false. The naturalization process required the individuals demonstrate proficiency in speaking, reading, and writing the English. Option 1 true is the right answer and 85% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Evelyn is holding the first position after completing our third question. Our fourth question is there is little or no correlation between English oral language skills and L2 reading proficiency for ELS. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Option 2 false is the right answer and 88% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Evelyn is holding the first position after completing the fourth question. Our fifth question is, if we measure reading to give a writing score, what is the problem? Option 1, it is creation refer. Option 2, constructed under representation. Option 2, constructed under representation is the right answer and 24% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Charlene is holding the first position after completing our fifth question. Our sixth question is crossing midline is the use of both right and left hemispheres of the brain, which is needed for writing, reading, etc. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Option 1 true is the right answer and 81% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Charlene is holding the first position after completing the sixth question. Our seventh question is, first language acquisition has a positive correlation to second language acquisition. Option 1 true, option 2 false. First language acquisition has a positive relation to second language acquisition. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Option 1 true is the right answer and 85% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Charlene is holding the first position after completing our seventh question. Our eighth question is, just reading text with a partner does not guarantee understanding of the text. The students may only be option 1 true, option 2 false. Option 1 true is the right answer and 57% people are right here. In the leaderboard, Charlian is holding the first position after completing the 8th question. Our ninth question is, why do some students have word level reading difficulties or disabilities? Option 1 environment, option 2 both red and blue. Option 1 environment, option 2 both red and blue. Option 2 both red and blue is the right answer and 36% people are right here. The leaderboard, Charlene is holding the first position after completing the ninth question. Our 10th and final question of this session. Listening comprehension does not have a strong correlation with early language learning. Option 1 true, option 2 false. Option 2 false is the right answer and 88% people are right here. Congratulations after top 10 quiz competition winner. We have all of your name which you entered during joining. We will pick them and prepare certificates and we'll post them into our official Facebook page and group. Our official Facebook page is Institute of Global Professional. Dear participant, now it's time for our question answer session. After a short video, we will start our question answer session. So let's enjoy our question answer session. Welcome back, our participants, and welcome back, ma'am. Dear participant, we are requested to ask your question in the comment box. Our speaker ma'am is here to reply that. Our first question is from Jordan Joy. Good day, ma'am. How to support a student with reading and writing difficulties?
Okay, so once again, good morning. So to Sir Jordan Joey as Jetina, he's asking if how to support students with reading and writing difficulties. So first and foremost, for a teacher to conduct an NA or a needs analysis so that he will be able to determine what are the needs or the learning needs of the students. Specifically, as Sir Jordan is asking on reading and writing. And then after that comes Reading techniques, just like what I presented a while ago, the four models. So, from building context depending on field, modeling a text, then guided practice, and then independent instruction. So, those four techniques are very significant in addressing these difficulties that Sir Jordan Joey is pointing on. So again, there is variation depending on the needs assessment of the students. Ma'am?
Thank you, ma'am, for your answer. Our next question is from Ishaya, ma'am. What is red and blue as a cause of reading difficulties or disabilities?
What is red and blue as a cause of reading difficulty or disabilities? What do you mean? What do you mean, sorry, Isaiah, with the red and blue? Are you pertaining to the illustration or to the diagram that I presented a while ago at the start of my PowerPoint presentation?
Okay, ma'am.
So,
Our next question is from Jennifer. Good morning, ma'am. How will we measure the reading and writing difficulties of every learners? What strategy is the best impact of this problem?
okay, thank you, Ma'am Jennifer Magura. So, how will you measure the reading and writing difficulties of every learners? What strategies is the best to impart for this problem? So, first and foremost po is to diagnose the weaknesses or the difficulties that every learner is encountering as regards reading and writing. And then after diagnosing, you give them corresponding instrument that would suit their learning needs. The instrument would of course be kumbaga standardized or validated depending on the level of learners. For example, if they are senior high school or if they are college students, the instrument would vary, of course, depending on their level of, the grade level or the year level of every pupils. So measuring their reading and writing difficulties is, of course, challenging. But if a teacher would be determined or persevering in terms of addressing the reading and writing difficulties, hindi po mahirap. Ang kailangan lang talaga ng teacher is tiyaga para ma-detect kung ano yung pangangailangan nila. Kasi once there is a diagnosis, pag alam natin kung ano yung pangangailangan nila, we can be able to give them the most appropriate intervention or remediation. Ma'am? Thank you so much po, Ma'am Jen.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question is from DCOs. My question to the speaker, how would describe the difference of correlation between private and public reading and writing in terms of proficiency?
So, Sir Jindel Alvarez is having his query on the description or the difference between correlation as regards private and public reading and writing in terms of proficiency. So, actually, I was not able to include in my presentation the difference between the private and the public reading and writing in terms of proficiency. But basically, on my ideas, what I can share to my fellow audience is that I think when it comes to standards, yes, standards or norms, the private, the private organization or the private institution has the, should I say, higher or mm, more compelling or more demanding proficiency as regards the reading and writing. Mas mataas yung demand nila. I am not underestimating the public institution. Basically, on my experience, because I have already taught in private and public, so I think the standard varies. But when it comes to correlation on reading and writing, there exists an interconnection. Meron po ng connection yung reading and writing. But when it comes to school, the private and the public, meron din po ng pagkakaiba. So, kumbaga, the point is, it is on the part of the teacher to inculcate to every students the love for reading so that their pupils or their students will also embrace the love for writing as well. Thank you so much po, Sir Jandel.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next question is from Evelyn. Good afternoon, ma'am. What are the challenges you encountered in the conduct of your research? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much po, Ma'am Evelyn. So the challenges that I encountered in the conduct of my study or in my research was that um, with the use of the different prompts, because I made use of the word prompt, the video prompt, and the poster prompt. So it's a bit difficult because every student is unique. They have their individual what they call that strength and difficulty. So other students most probably are good in writing with the use of video kasi nanood sila, may pinanood sila. Other students would love poster so they can start writing, while others are also interested to start writing with the use of word prompt. So, siguro yung challenge po is yung sa individual differences of my respondents. And another one is in terms of reading. Kasi yung kaninang pig-mention ko that is writing. But in terms of reading, my students found it what do you call that? Found it not easy to select kasi multiple choice multiple choice. So they found it difficult to answer comprehensively the language questions. Specifically sa mga comprehension check. So may mga reading selection and then after that may mga corresponding questions doon sila nahirapan. It's the challenges, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. I think there is no more question. So, on behalf of NGP, thank you so much, ma'am. It has very
Thank
wonderful
you so
session. I hope everyone learned from your presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. Salamat. Mabalos.
Dear participant, it's time to give you a webinar code. Our today topic is correlation of reading proficiency and writing competence, and the code is IGP 2222. And the code is IGP 2222. Without code, no one is eligible for certificate. With code, you can claim your certificate anytime. Now, the participant, I'm going to tell you how to claim your certificate. First, you have to go www.eduigp.com. Then you have to click on sign in or login. If you have already an account, you can log in with your account. If you are new, then you have to click on sign in. And then after sign in, you have to create a new account for yourself. Once login, click free webinar, select the webinar title and click continue course and then get enrolled. If you are not enrolled yet, you have to first enroll yourself, then you can continue. After enroll, type the code in your certificate code box. Click get your certificate. It's auto downloaded in PDF file already. Just check your file manager, you will got your certificate. Thank you so much everyone for your active participation. I hope everyone learned from our webinar. See you again in our next session. Till that, stay happy. Once again, I am Badhandas from Bangladesh.